From age 23 to 30, I made over $1 million from video editing, but it was way harder than it needed to be, and I wish I'd known how to do it smarter from the start. So to help you hit 7 figures from editing way faster than I did, I'll show you the exact process I'd follow if I were starting from scratch. But first, I need to show you what happens if you don't follow these steps. Think of making money as an editor like water flowing through a pipe. You want it to move freely, but for me, it kept getting blocked. And it wasn't until I figured out the 5 things blocking the flow that everything changed. And these are the same 5 things I teach my students, like Guzman, who landed his first 5-figure freelance editing project after going through my program. Let's tackle the first blockage in your pipe. Step 1. My income chart at the beginning of this video is a little misleading because I started editing at age 16 and knew pretty much right away that I wanted to make editing my career. And those 7 years before I figured out these steps were brutal. I was editing non-stop, but I wasn't landing many gigs, and when I did land an editing job, it was usually soul-crushing creatively. So after 4 years of going it alone, I finally decided to find a mentor who was a real pro editor, and he taught me something that changed everything. He showed me that editing isn't just a technical exercise, it's all about emotional storytelling. And when I started practicing that and bringing emotion and story into my edits, my career finally started to take off. If this is a blockage in your income pipe, let me give you 3 simple steps to start working on it. First, pick an emotional target for each scene in your edit before you start cutting, and bonus points if you write it down and slap it up on your computer monitor so you don't forget. And then make every other editing decision to hit that target emotion: rhythm, shot choice, sound design, everything. And finally, show your edit to someone and ask how it made them feel. Take the feedback, revise your edit, and keep working on it until your audience feels what you intended them to feel. This sounds simple, but it's not easy. It takes a lot of discipline to follow these steps for every cut, every scene, every project, but I promise you it will make the single biggest difference in your editing career. And anyone on YouTube talking about making more money as an editor but doesn't start by helping you improve your emotional storytelling is not someone worth listening to. So step 1 is to practice the craft of emotional storytelling to get that part of your income pipe unblocked. In my editing program, the first thing I teach my students is how to make emotionally impactful edits. Click the link in the description to check it out. Now let's work through the second blockage in your income pipe. Step 2. So there I was at 19 or 20 years old, struggling to get editing jobs to pay for college, and when I did land one, my hourly rate ended up being less than minimum wage. Yes, I actually calculated it. And I thought, how was I ever going to make a good living at this? A couple of years later, when I booked my first broadcast TV commercial for 10x what I was charging before, something clicked. Not all types of editing pay the same. I meet so many editors who are stuck in a niche that is probably never going to pay what they want to earn. So let me show you some of the different levels of editing so you can unblock this part of your income pipe. And before you leave a comment telling me how terrible my chart is, I do realize that I'm generalizing here, and there are certainly going to be outliers, but with over 20 years in this business and having talked to hundreds of pro editors, a lot of them my dear friends, I think this chart is a good start. At the bottom, you've got social media shorts: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube shorts. So back when I started, before there was social media, this row was typically fast turnaround conference videos, which I did a lot of, or maybe real estate videos. Then we step up to long form YouTube videos or podcasts. These can definitely have higher budgets than shorts, especially if you're working with a big creator. Then we move up to corporate or brand films. These usually require more polish, have higher production value, and require more storytelling. And they usually have bigger budgets because businesses typically have more money to spend than creators. Next, we move up to broadcast television, and this is a pretty significant jump in budgets and pay for editors. Now, this can be broadcast TV commercials, which has been my niche for over 20 years, or things like unscripted television for streaming platforms or networks. And at the top, we have scripted television and Hollywood features. These definitely have the biggest budgets and the toughest competition. The key takeaway here is that your income pipe might be blocked because you're simply not in a niche that can support the pay you want. So step 2 is pick a niche further up the income ladder. And you might be thinking, okay, but how do I actually move up the ladder? Well, good question. And the trick is that you need work samples in the niche you want to move to. So this is the biggest challenge, but it is possible if you put in the work. Here's what I'd recommend. 1. Start building relationships with producers or directors who already work in the niche you want to get to, and offer your services at a discount or even pro bono to get your foot in the door. Now, this takes a lot of time and perseverance, but it is possible. If you want to shortcut that process, you can enroll in an editing program like mine where students actually edit high-end projects in a niche they want to get to that'll help them land those high-end jobs. Click the link in the description to learn more. Once you've edited successful projects in the niche you're targeting, it's time to show your work, which brings me to the next place you can have a blockage in your income pipe. Step 3. This is where a lot of editors get stuck. They've edited great projects, but they don't know how to present them. So they decide a high-energy montage is the best way to show their work, and they're wrong. How do I know this? Because I made the same mistake. I would cut a montage of all my best edits using an awesome song. I'd put it on my portfolio website, which had almost zero traffic, by the way, and I'd get nothing in response. No jobs from this editing reel I've spent so much time on. Later, my mentor stepped in again and showed me how to make a reel that actually lands jobs. And the key was this: your reel isn't for you. Its only job is to make one decision maker say, this is exactly what I need. I want to work with this person. So let me give you 4 steps to follow so your reel will start converting into jobs. First, pick one niche and focus your reel on that work. Then use clips, not montages, so you can show your emotional storytelling abilities. Share your reel with one clean professional link. And finally, only send it to people who actually need exactly what you provide. So step 3 is to create a high converting show reel. And if you want more tips on creating your editing show reel, download my free show reel mastery guide at the link in the description. Now let me show you the 4th blockage in your income pipe and how to break through it. Step 4. Imagine you're about to buy a new watch online. You know the watch is good, it has great reviews, it's from a reputable company, but on the website, instead of a nice picture of the watch, it's a picture of a beat up brown bag with tape all over it. Would you buy it? Probably not. I've seen this same thing happen to so many talented editors. They go through the trouble of honing their craft, getting work on their reel in a good niche, and putting together great show reels only to package it all up in a beat up brown bag. Your brand is the first thing a potential client sees, and it shows them your professionalism, your taste, your creativity before they even watch your work. I know the pain because for years I packaged up my great editing work in a beat up old brown bag, like I mentioned, but when I started to finally take my brand seriously, I booked way more jobs. I was sending the same show reels, but with a better presentation. So let me give you 4 quick, easy things you can do that will make a big impact on how many clients you're converting. First, send out your show reel from a professional email address. This builds credibility. I recommend getting your name as a URL and using that. Next, create a simple, well-designed, and easy to navigate portfolio site. It doesn't have to be super complex, it just has to look professional. And on that site, I want you to take care in writing a short bio about yourself that showcases your best accomplishments at the beginning. And finally, get a pro headshot, or at least use a friend who really loves cameras and takes great photos, and use that headshot on your new portfolio site and on all of your social media profiles. These steps are simple, but it's not always easy, especially because we all have blind spots when it comes to our own brand and our own design. So you really need to find a friend or colleague who's willing to take a look at everything and give you honest feedback. That fresh set of eyes can make a huge difference. So step 4 is polish your personal brand. Once your brand is dialed in, you're ready to tackle one final blockage. And besides getting better at emotional storytelling, this is the thing that I see holding most editors back. Step 5. Here's a question for you. How many hours have you spent improving your editing? 1,000, 10,000, 20,000? Now, how many hours have you spent on learning sales? Maybe 1 hour, maybe 10. You're not alone. That was me too. And probably most editors. There's a reason we're so comfortable sitting alone in the dark for long periods of time. It's because most of us are introverts. But here's a hard truth that I want you to hear. You can have great edits, a killer showreel, and a polished brand, but if you don't get your work in front of the right people, your income pipe will stay clogged. Here's what I did to unclog mine, and it should work for you too. First, I picked a certain number of people to reach out to each week, and I actually stuck to it. Consistency is everything here. And over time, I realized there were 4 things I did that got the best response rates, and I think these will work for you too, so give them a try. First, find the exact person you want to work with. Remember, your reel should align perfectly with their needs. Second, research them so you can mention their work in the note you send. Remember, this communication is about them, it's not about you. Then simply mention you edit similar types of projects and you'd love to chat. Include a link to that show reel you made, make sure it aligns exactly with their needs, and then follow up with those who respond and try to start a relationship. So step 5 is to consistently reach out to potential clients. And if you want more help, click the link in the description to learn about my editing program where I personally guide students through these 5 steps. Now you know the 5 things you need to unblock to make more money as an editor. But none of it will matter if you don't keep improving your emotional storytelling. So watch this video next to learn 4 cinematic scene transitions you can use to level up your edits today. Happy editing.